Hi guys, Scoop Phase is here. We have we have a Santa Claus deck.
Yeah, Santa himself, or what I like to call him, the Chicken Man.
Yeah, this is Yazzie's specialty here.
Yeah, this is I call it. Well, it's Shaddol Invoked, but I like to call it Al's ToyBarn.
Yeah, so we have Alistair and all his little toy dolls
Oh yeah, he's trying to.
that Santa brought him.
Well, it's a Toy Story reference, obviously.
Yeah, this is probably the most powerful card in the deck because, as you can see, it's a light monster, so you can use it to make Construct or Mechaba, and you can summon it to your opponent's field as a gift in defense. So then you can pierce over it with Purgatrio. So we have so many uses for this Santa Claus card here, and then the rest of the deck's just kind of there to support this.
Oh,
So
yes.
we have these normal vanilla monsters. They're almost as powerful as Santa Claus, but not quite. You really want to see them in your opening hand along with Santa Claus. I feel like is the ideal scenario. And so then we'll go over the hand traps in a second. So let's go over the Shaddolls first. The dolls.
Well, I watched like numerous deck profiles showcasing, the Shaddol Invoked. So it's the obligatory, build two beast.
So anyone who doesn't know, all the Shaddolls are flip monsters. But they're like fusion based, and they all have an effect where if they're sent to the grave by a card effect, they get a certain effect. So like discarding them doesn't work, but if you fusion someone with them, it will trigger it.
Yeah. What sucks is that you can only choose one effect of each.
Yeah, so you can't do the flip and the sent to grave in the same turn.
Yeah, that always confuses the hell out of me.
So it's kind of like Thunder Dragon.
Yeah.
That confused you too. So we have two Shaddol beasts. When you flip him up, you draw 2 cards, discard a card. You don't do that often, I can't imagine. I mean, you can.
I mean, if I brick, if I send Windy, and I just special summon Beast for defense.
But the main effect you're probably gonna see like 80% of the time, I think, would just be if he's sent to grave by a card effect, you just draw a card.
Yeah, just +1. There you go.
Yeah, so that's a good. He's level 5, so it's a little awkward, but you need Shaddol names to do the fusions and stuff, so it's good. And then Dragon.
Dragon comes in clutch sometimes because Foolish Burial is the equivalent of an MST. I just pitch him and just pop a floodgate, whatever.
Yep, that's his sent to grave, and then his flip thing is you target 1 card your opponent controls and return it to hand. So that's actually pretty decent too.
Yeah, it's just like that one card, that Hane or Hane, whatever it's called.
But we only play one of him though because it's kind of like going first and stuff. He doesn't really help.
Yeah.
And then we have 3 Squamata.
Yeah, Squamata's decent. I mean, when you send to grave, you just send another.
Yeah, so if you fusion someone with him, you can use him to fix whichever one you wanted to actually send to grave, basically. And then his flip effect is cool. You target 1 monster on the field, destroy it. So you can kind of stall out with this deck a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes I usually send Squamata just to pitch the Windy, just to thin out the deck.
Yeah, and it fills up your grave for like Alistair and all the invoked stuff and all that.
Yep.
Which is nice. And then skipping this stuff, going to the next Shaddoll, we have
Shaddol Aerial. It's just the regular combo ever since the strategy came with the Shaddol structure deck. How you banish Construct with the trap at the bottom.
Yeah. So what she does is when she's flipped up, you just summon one of your banished Shaddolls, and you summon it either face up or face down.
Usually a fusion under Cross Sheep.
Yeah, and then when we get to it, there's a Shaddoll card that really combos well with this. And then also her Sent to Grave effect against some matchups can be very helpful.
Yeah, it could come in clutch.
It just banishes 3 cards from either graveyard, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know why you do your own, but you could.
I mean, I do it to Zoo.
Yeah, and then like against Eldritch, you can banish all their spells and traps down there, which is pretty nice. Against another invoked player, you could just like banish their invocations and all that stuff. So that's nice. Probably the most powerful of all the main deck Shaddolls.
The best Shaddol monster
is Wendy. So her flip effect is cool, I guess. It special summons the Shaddol from deck in either face up or face down, which that's cool.
Yeah, it's busted.
And then her Sent to Grave effect is essentially the same thing, right?
Thing, but except it has to be face down.
Yeah, which normally what you want to do is you want to summon this, and then we'll get into that when we get to it. But yeah, so basically, no matter what you do with her, she's getting a monster out of your deck, which is just really good.
Yeah, she's the best. And then Hedgehog. When you send to grave by a card effect, you just add a spell or trap.
Oh, you add a Shaddol monster.
Oh, Shaddol monster. Sorry.
When he's flip summoned, you add a Shaddol spell or trap.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Which is cool.
See, there you go. I get mixed up.
Yeah. But yeah. And then that's it for the Shaddol monsters. They have fusion spells.
Yeah, Shaddoll Fusion.
This is a really good fusion
Oh,
spell.
I remember this card is expensive.
So you fusion summon one Shaddol monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion materials.
Yeah, or if it
That's only the first sentence.
Yes.
The second sentence is go ahead, Yazzie.
Oh yeah, if your opponent controls any monsters, especially with the extra deck, you could just send the fusion materials from deck to grave.
Yeah, so you can just use ones from deck.
Yeah, it's
You
really,
get to pick
it's too
whichever
good.
ones you want. So basically Wendy plus like Squamata or whatever. So that's pretty good. Unfortunately, that does open you up to getting Ash Blossomed.
Yeah, I mean it's a good
But
card.
that's why we
out,
play.
and
That's why we play Gamma.
Yeah.
But so that's that spell, and then this spell is it's arguably good too.
It's
It's not
good,
quite
too.
on like the hype level as Shaddol Fusion.
I mean, I mainly use it just to summon out Window on their turn.
Yeah, so it's a quick play, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And when you get to our extra deck, you'll see the Shaddol Fusions have some good stunny effects. Some of them.
Yes.
So this one's just straight up fusion summon one Shaddol from your extra deck. Both this and the other Shaddol Fusion are once per turn, so you can't use multiple in the same turn.
Yeah, which is unfortunate.
But that's why there's two, so that's good. And then there's two more Shaddol cards in the main deck. They're both traps, which you might think, oh, isn't that kind of slow? But no, because one of them you rarely are going to use its actual trap effect on the
Yes.
field. You're going to use its grave effect, and that's this one, Shaddol Incarnation. So what does this one do, Yazzie?
So, you target a Shaddoll monster in your graveyard, special summon it in face up or defense mode.
Which
so
can kind of come up. Like
yeah,
if there's
sometimes.
if there's a window down there or something, it could be
Yeah.
okay.
And then it has two grave effects. You can banish it, and what the cost is, you banish it and another Shaddoll monster, which is
Actually good.
just good.
When you combo it with her, as we mentioned
with
earlier.
Ariel. So you can change one face down monster you control, and then flip it face up,
Or you can flip one face down, but
or flip it face down.
you rarely see that get used.
Yeah. So usually.
So what you usually do is you banish this in whichever Shaddol you want to bring back, and you flip Ariel up, and she'll summon whatever one got banished.
Yes, usually construct.
Yeah, which we'll get to her in a second. And then that's pretty much it for what that does. And then the most recent card here is pretty good too.
Oh yeah, this card is.
So it's a continuous trap, and it's during the main phase. You can fusion summon one Shaddol Fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing materials listed on it from your field or grave, and it can't attack directly. Oh no!
And yeah, who cares?
And on top of all that, then you can send to the graveyard one monster your opponent controls that has the same attribute as the fusion summoned monster.
Yes.
It doesn't target, and it sends. It doesn't destroy.
Yeah, I just love it. Just using this against like Dragoon or the Dragoon setup.
Well, yeah. If you notice, the two best Shaddol fusions are light and dark, which
Yes.
just so happen to be very commonly used attributes. So, yeah, against Dragoon, it will send the Dragoon without targeting. Against like if you're facing like an Eldritch deck, you can just send the Eldritch, the Golden Lord, even if he has his destruction protection, which is nice. And once we get to the fusions, you'll see that all these spells and traps, even if they get sent to grave, we can get them back,
Yes.
which is very nice. So we'll do the extract monsters real quick. So we have arguably the best one. It's hard to say because Wind is such a good card to end on, but this is such a good card overall.
It's the best. It's the greatest. Probably the greatest extender ever.
So we have El Shaddoll Construct. She's level 8. She's pretty big. 2,800, 25 defense. That's pretty nice. All the Shaddol fusions have the thing where it takes one Shaddol monster and then plus one monster of a certain attribute. So Construct is light.
Yes.
So as you can see, that's why we're playing a bunch of light monsters in here as well. And then when she is fusion summoned, well, actually, if she's special summoned, you can send a Shaddol card from your deck to the graveyard, and that's just cards. So it's not just monsters. So if you're missing one of your fusions, you can send it, or if you can send the Incarnation, that's how you get the Incarnation right to grave. And then she also, when she at the start of the damage step, if she just battles a special summon monster, you destroy that monster.
Yeah, that's like the most annoying effect.
So like even if whether it's her attacking or she's being attacked, if that monster was special summoned before the attacks actually go through, that monster just dies.
Yeah, it just gets killed.
And then the last effect that all the fusions have very similar effects to this. One of them's a little different than the others, but when it's sent to graveyard, it doesn't have to be destroyed or anything, just sent, so you can link it away and everything. You can target one of your Shaddol spell and traps in your graveyard and add it to hand. So that's why if you're missing like a different fusion, you can send the fusion you're missing and then link her away, and she'll add back the fusion you were missing. Or she can, if you want Rug or Schism.
Schism.
It's not called Rug anymore. If you want Schism, you can have her send Schism, link her away, and then she'll add Schism back. So it's like it's a way to search without adding stuff to your hand. It's like it's a different way to search. And then so she's busted. Next one's App Cologne. This is also dark.
Yeah, App Cologne is.
So this one's this is the more newer one.
Yes.
So it's a lot different.
It's more defensive.
Yeah, it's a lot different than the other ones, which you'll notice. So this one just takes 2 Shaddoll monsters with different attributes. So it's not quite the same as the other ones in terms of materials. But that's why we have Wendy and Ariel are both ones with different attributes. So you can make her pretty easily still.
Or you can use Construct.
Yeah. You can use you can use Construct with one of the light ones, or you can use like Window with one of the non-dark ones. And her effect is when she's special summoned, you can target one face-up card on the field, and you just permanently negate its effects.
Yeah, as long as it's on field, it's that good.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Also, she can't be destroyed by battle, so in certain like situations, you could just sit on this thing for a while.
Yes.
And then on top of all that, if it's sent to graveyard, you get to add a Shaddol card from your deck or your graveyard to your hand, and then you discard a card. And since you don't discard right off the bat, it is not a cost, so it's an effect. So all the Shaddol monsters' effects will trigger. And this is another way you can search for like the traps or the spells, or if you just want to add beast, discard beast, and then draw a card, you can do that. And same thing, just sent to grave, so you can link it away and everything, which is nice. Then we get to the last Shaddol card in the deck.
The one everyone hated back in 2014.
So we have Winda. She has 2200 attack, only 800 defense, level 5. She takes a Shaddol and a Dark Monster, which might be the easiest to do in this entire deck.
Probably the best Super Poly target for the deck.
Yeah, and a lot of these are Dark Monsters, so it's very easy to do that. So it can't be destroyed by card effects, so you can't like Raigeki this thing.
You can't.
Which is nice. And then 22 isn't the lowest ever, so there are some things that can't beat over this. And then her effect is each player can only special summon monster or monsters once per turn while she's on the field. So she's a walking summon limit, but like actually better than summon limit, because summon limit's 2 times. This is 1. So unless they can special summon or normal summon something bigger than her really quickly, they're gonna have a hard time. Or negate her. I guess they could try and negate her effect somehow. And then she has the same effect as Construct, where if she's just sent to grave, you add a Shaddol spell or trap back from your graveyard.
Yeah, there's a little recovery there.
So even if they get rid of her, you're most likely getting something back, which is nice. So that's it for the Shaddol cards. We'll go over the hand traps real quick, and then we'll talk about the other thing that really goes well with the Shaddolls. So we have three Nibiru, because
yeah, why not?
Nibiru's like the best card.
Yeah, it's a light too.
We have 3 Gamma and then the 1 Driver, because we don't want this getting ashed, and it's just a good hand trap in general, and it's a light, so it helps make Construct if we need to. And we have these 2 guys. They're not hand traps. They're the clowns.
They're just extenders.
Yeah, they're extra lights, and they do something when they're sent to grave or if they're in the grave. So they're really good targets for the Shaddol fusion to send from deck to grave.
Yeah.
So, and then this is for the Dragoon package, which...
Enough said.
Yeah. And then other generic things, we have Foolish Burial, just because it'll trigger all these effects. We have Call by the Grave, because once again, we don't want this getting ashed. And we have the most busted card in the game. I don't have to explain it. And then the last thing we have in here is we have the Invoked engine.
Yes.
Which is also another fusion engine, which helps kind of bolster up the Shaddol stuff and make them a little more powerful. And so we have the owner of the barn here.
Yeah, the Chicken Man himself.
We have Alistair, the Invoker. So he has a quick effect where you can send him from your hand to grave to target a fusion monster and give it 1,000 attack and defense. Which is actually nice, because if they do get something big enough to beat over Winda and you have Alistair, he'll make her even bigger.
Oh, yeah, they try to get over Winda, just send Alistair.
Yeah. And then it's not once per turn either, so you could, in theory, send all 3 Alistairs.
Yeah, you can resolve all 3.
Yeah. And then that's not really the best part, that's just the bonus. The other thing is when he's normal summoned or flipped face up.
Yeah, flip face up.
Which I found out the other day, it was either Justin or Ryan did not know that. They had no clue that he did that. So if he's normal summoned or flipped face up, you add 1 invocation from your deck to your hand. What's invocation? This is invocation.
Yes.
It is a fusion spell. Fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand as fusion material. If you're summoning an invoked fusion monster this way, you can also banish monsters from your field and or either player's graveyard as fusion materials.
Oh yeah, just banishing their Ash and Alistair for Purgatrio for game. I just love it.
And then it also has an effect where if you have an Alistair the Invoker that's in your banish zone, you can shuffle this card back into the deck and add the Alistair back to your hand.
Yeah, it's a built-in,
So you have the Alistair to bump up your fusion monster if you need to, or you have him next turn to just normal summon again, get the invocation back, which is really nice. And the cool thing about this is you can use it to make the invoked fusion monsters, but you can also use it with just the Shaddolls in your hand
anything.
to make the Shaddoll fusion monsters, because it's technically generic as long as you only use monsters in your hand for the generic part.
Unless if you brick heavily.
Yeah, so you actually, it's almost like running polymerization alongside the Shaddolls fusion spells, which is really nice. And then the last invoked card in the main deck is Magical Meltdown. So when you activate it, you just add Alistair the Invoker from your deck to your hand. So
Meltdown just...
Yeah, so we basically have 6 copies of Alistair.
Yeah, Meltdown just saves me all
and
the
then
time.
it has another effect, which is just really stupidly good.
Yeah.
So the activation of your cards and effects that include the effect that fusion summon a monster cannot be negated, so they can't Solemn Judgment it. They can try to Solemn Judgment it.
Good.
It won't work.
It won't work.
They'll pay half their life for nothing. And then also, your opponent's cards and effects cannot activate when a monster is fusion summoned. So if you fusion summon something and this is on field, they can't respond with Torrential.
Yeah, they can't Torrential.
You get to do something immediately afterwards. They can't respond with something, so the priority goes back to you. So this card's just stupidly good. Alright, so that's it for the whole main deck. That's it. We're gonna go over the invoked fusions real quick, and then whatever's left in the extra deck. So we have the best one.
Yeah, the best one, Makaba. It's just, I don't know how to pronounce it.
It's invoked. I think it's either Mekaba or Makaba. I don't know.
And this is why Konami used to put all cards in the anime. But otherwise, it's really good.
Yeah, it's just they all take Alistair plus an attribute, much like the Shaddol ones.
Yes.
So this is Alistair plus a light monster. So all those light monsters we're playing to help make Construct also help make Mekaba.
Yeah, this is our Nibiru protection.
Yeah, and also, since Invocation lets you use your opponent's graveyard, if they have a light monster in their graveyard, you can just use their light monster and banish it, which is really nice. And what does he do?
Oh boy. So, when your opponent activates a monster effect.
Or a spell or trap.
Spell or trap, any effect, you can just send whatever that's the same type of card.
So if they activate a monster, you send a monster. If they activate a trap, you send a trap. If they activate a spell, that's my beagle howling if you heard that. I don't know if you did or not. So basically he just negates anything provided you have the right thing in your hand to send to grave.
Yes. But the icing on the cake is that it negates and banish.
Yeah, so they don't even get in the
It doesn't
graveyard.
destroy it, it just banishes it.
Yeah, which is really good. And he's got 2,500 attack, so that's pretty big, and the Alistair can boost him up more in case he gets threatened.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then like you said, if you make this first, and then they try and Nibiru you when you're doing all your Shaddol stuff, you can just negate the Nibiru.
Yes.
Which is really nice. And then the next one we have is Purgatrio. He's probably the second best, I guess?
Yeah.
It's hard to say which is the real second best, because they're all kind of different.
Purgatrio, he's like a mini superconductor, is that what you said?
Yeah, a mini ultimate conductor,
Yeah.
So he gets to attack everything, and he does piercing damage, so he can attack defense position monsters.
Yes, and on top of that, he gains 200 for each
card your opponent controls. So if they have a bunch of cards on field, and you have him, and you bump him up with Alistair a few times, you could kill them with just him.
Kill them, yeah.
And he takes Alistair plus a fire, which we don't have any main decked fire, but we have an extra deck monster we can make really easily as our fire target. Plus, if anyone's running Ash Blossom, you have a fire target right there in their graveyard. And that's really all there is to him. And then the last invoked fusion is Kaliga.
Kaliga? Oh, there's so many times I wanted to take this guy out because he's useless, but
sometimes he comes
up.
The
most dire situations, this guy comes. He comes in clutch.
And so he takes Alistair and a dark monster, which all these Shaddolls are dark, which is good.
I mean, I'm not saying I stall for time, but this guy just saves me. He just saves my height.
If you get him and Winda at the same time, I don't know what they do. So what he does, each player can only activate attempt to activate one monster effect per turn, and each player can only attack with one monster during each battle phase.
Yes.
So you can see if you have this and Winda at the same time, it gets a little hard for your opponent to do something. I guess his stats are pretty low. He only has 1,000 attack and 1,800 defense. But once again, the Alistair can raise his attack and defense.
Yeah,
so.
plus you have a window too.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily the easiest thing to get rid of him. So yeah, and he's dark, which is really helpful. Sometimes you just have to hard make him to just get a Shaddoll effect to go off. And he's level 4. I mean, if we played XC monsters, we could technically overlay, I guess. The extra X kind of tight on space, but and also super poly, good super poly target.
Yeah.
All right, and then that's it for the Invoked stuff. Now we'll just go over the rest of the extract. We have Dragoon.
Yeah.
I don't really think I need to explain this.
We don't need him.
I mean, why not? We would be playing Verte even if Dragoon didn't exist anyways.
Yeah.
So we might as well play Dragoon in here too. This guy, I love this guy so much. I talked you into putting him in here.
Yeah, we gotta test him out. I want to see.
So the only way to really make him is if we Gamma on our turn.
Yes.
But what he does is when he's synchro summoned, you excavate the top 5 cards of your deck, then you add a light or dark monster to your hand, and then you send the rest to graveyard. So you could add an Alistair, you could add a Shaddol, you could add a Nibiru or a Gamma. And then the rest go to grave, which is a card effect. So all the Shaddolls that you wouldn't grab and you let go to grave, they'll all get their effects off.
Yeah, it's funny. I love it.
And like if you mill some of these Shaddol spells and traps, you really don't care because you can get them back so easily.
Back with construct.
And then his other effect is if he's in the graveyard, you can banish a light or dark monster from your hand or graveyard to summon himself. So we can like link him away, bring him back, link again with him. He gets banished when he leaves the field, so we can't keep doing it. And we have plenty of lights and darks. We have an excess of lights and darks, so that shouldn't be hard to meet that condition. But yeah, before we had this guy in here, just as a way to get rid of the Shaddolls really easily.
Yeah, gravity control's just got power crap.
Yeah, I don't know if he's necessary, but
I mean, all he's good for is just linking away the construct, you know.
And then last we have the link monsters. We have Almirage. He just takes a normal summon monster with 1,000 or less attack,
which is
yeah, it's Alistair.
Yeah, Alistair, you know.
And he's a fire, so he helps us get Purgatrio up. And then his effect is okay. You can tribute him and then target one monster you control. It can't be destroyed by a card effects.
Yeah, rarely comes up.
So you could actually you could use that to like protect a Makaba if you really needed to. I mean, Winda, there's no point.
Yeah.
But that he's really just there to give us a free way to get the Alistair engrave and get us a resource back, which is nice. And then we have this thing. This is new.
Yeah, this... I did not know this thing takes a level 4 or lower spellcaster monster.
Which is cool, because it's Alistair and any of these normal summonable Shaddolls if you really wanted to, but mainly just Alistair. It's just because she's a light. That's really it. Just so you can normal Alistair, make a light monster, make a Mechaba with it.
Yeah, she's just a replacement for Secure Gardener.
And yes, Secure Gardener would be the other option, but to make him, you'd have to make Almirage first, and then make him.
Yes.
Which is still fine, but like you could save the Almirage for later if you really needed to, and just make this instead. Because his effect is whatever. It's okay. I don't know if
it's all right.
You'd probably the thing is they're not staying on the field most likely anyways, so I don't think the effects really matter. And plus, she's a spellcaster, so that's cool.
I mean, plus you're less prone to getting Nibiru as well.
Yeah.
Since you don't have to waste the summon.
So that's why these two are here. Verte. It summons Dragoon, but you can also use it to send any of these Shaddoll fusion spells.
If you really need to.
Or if you end up playing Super Poly, you can do the same thing. You can send Super Poly. So this is just a very good generic Link 2 for this deck. Even without Dragoon, I think you'd probably still want to play it. And then you have Cross Sheep, which is really cool. None of its other effects would come up except, I guess, the Synchro effect, but who cares?
Yeah, it's just mainly diffusion.
Yeah, so if something's fusion summoned to its zone, you summon a level 4 lower monster from your graveyard.
Yes.
So that's really good. And that just helps you link climb into this guy.
Yeah, just special summon, not fusion summon.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can bring the construct back from the banish zone with that whole play, and it will still trigger the call. Yeah. It just has to be a fusion monster summoned to its zone. And then we have Boral Sword.
Yeah, Boral Sword.
Why not? I mean, just he kills things. We have other big things to go with him, so that's nice. This guy, like, we can just end on Boral Sword this guy and kill them. So that's it for the extra deck. The stuff down here, this is not the actual side deck. We don't have an actual side deck for this.
These are just, like, additional options.
Yeah, that you could do. Like, these are some other invoked fusions you could try.
Yeah.
This guy's cool. He's kind of hard to make because he takes an invoked monster and then a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck.
Yeah, which is why I really don't use
But the
him
way
much.
rulings work, if you have an extra deck monster in your graveyard, it doesn't actually count as being summoned from the extra deck anymore. So you'd have to use one on the field. So
Yeah,
it gets a little weird. And then but yeah, he lets you he's every attribute basically, and then you contribute him, and then you can banish. You contribute an invoked monster, and then banish all monsters your opponent controls with the same attribute, which is cool. This one's the newer one. I actually really like this one. So it takes Alistair plus a fusion monster. So if any of your fusion monsters got used up earlier, you can just banish one of them plus Alistair. And what it does is when it's special summoned, or when an opponent's monster is special summoned, you target one monster your opponent controls and destroy it.
It's pretty good.
And then once per turn you can banish a fusion monster from your graveyard, and then you gain attack equal to the banished monster's attack. So you can make this thing pretty big.
It is. Wait, how much attack does it have?
It has 2,000. So like say you banished Mechaba, it'd be 45 without
Whoa.
Alistair boosting
Yeah.
it. So that's actually kind of nice. And then we have Raijin. We could technically make him because we have Wendy. He's just a Book of Moon, basically as a quick effect.
Oh yes.
That's about it.
He's okay.
Yeah. And then we have Omega is something you could play instead of this guy. For the kind of the same reasons of the Gamma, you could play it.
Yeah.
I'd probably just play this guy if you're going to go that route, though. But that's an option. He's a light, I guess.
Yes.
That's cool. Access Code Talker. So the Access Code Talker you could put in by himself, technically. I don't know if he'd be that great. But the cool thing we thought of was you could, like, cross-sheet, bring a Shaddoll back, make Celine.
Or construct.
Yeah, even just Construct. And then bring something back. And then she can link with that thing into access code.
Yes. Or she could bring, access code again.
Yeah. So like, if you do put access code, I'd recommend this. Yeah. If you do put access code, I'd recommend fitting her into. And she's also a light, which is helpful.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And then we have the Alistair Link monster. He's okay. I don't know if he's actually needed. He just would give you extra fusions, because he just when you fusion someone to a zone. You discard a card, then you add an Invocation or a Book of Law from your deck to your hand. I feel like he's just overkill, though. I don't think you really actually need him.
No, I don't need him.
And we have Lambda. I mean, if we're playing Gamma, you probably need to at least consider playing Lambda.
Yes.
But the extract, like we said, the extract's kind of tight on space. And we already talked about these guys. And then some other things you could do, like Book of Moon is interesting. Book of Eclipse goes really well with Purgatrio. Then he basically is Ultimate Conductor almost.
Yeah, just overkill.
And then Super Poly is really good because all these fusion monsters are somewhat generic enough to where you could Super Poly your opponent's stuff.
If they control the right attribute.
Yeah, and then you could always throw in like Starving Venom or something if you
Yes.
wanted to be a little more specific. Then like stuff like Imperm, other hand traps if you could fit them in here. And then like Evenly Match, Lightning Storm, any kind of like back row.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But yeah, that's Al's Toy Barn featuring Santa. So don't ever side Santa out if you're going to side deck.
Yes.
All right, we will see you guys. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays, everybody. Hopefully this will be out before Christmas. That's the plan.
Okay.
And then we're gonna go take this online and probably just beat people down with Santa Claus.
Yeah, just shove some coal down their stockings,
Yeah.
Or...
Okay, goodbye, everybody.
Later.